Heyo everyone, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to do our third video about anecdotes about movies and the stories behind the movies. And today we're going to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. Don't you just get it? We're talking about Fight Club. So between what I knew and what I did not know, let's get right into it. You ready? Let's go. Stop. So before we start citing any anecdotes, I'm going to present briefly the movie Fight Club. So Fight Club is a movie directed by David Fincher that was inspired by the novel by Chuck Palahniuk, and the movie was released in 1999. And it stars, of course, Brad Pitt in the role of Tyler Durden and Edward Norton, which is the narrator. Tyler Durden is a mysterious and charismatic soap maker. Oh, and by the way, the book was written in 1996, 3 years before the movie was released. Although it had a disappointing box office, actually, it was a critical and commercial success after all, especially after the DVD were sold, because it made a lot of profit from that. It made about $100 million, I think, when it was released. The movie is iconic and it's a cult classic, and it was known for great performances by Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter, of course. There was also Jared Leto that did a really good job. Meatloaf as well. Now let's get right into a few anecdotes. If you will, join me.
Welcome to Fight Club.
The first anecdote is on the writer Chuck Palahniuk that wrote Fight Club and released it in 1996. But he was actually inspired for this story by a real-life event that he lived. He actually was beaten up on a camping trip. He even stated later on that if he hadn't been beaten up on that camping trip, he maybe would have never written Fight Club and we would not know his novel. Number 2, in the scene where Tyler Durden pours lye on the narrator's hand, the chemical reaction that we can see on his hand was made using a mixture of oatmeal and flour. Of course, Edward Norton had a prosthetic hand. The scene was so intense that it got some crew members nauseous, and Brad Pitt even said to David Fincher that he would refuse to do the scene more than 3 times if he asked him to. And if you haven't seen it, there were the Caesars just 2 days ago while I'm filming this, and at that time Brad Pitt came to give a Caesar of honor to David Fincher, and he stated that David Fincher would do a lot of takes. Even at the time they even did 92 for one scene, so of course 3 was quite absurd for David Fincher. Number 3, I really love this one because of course it's the whole motion of the movie. The scene where Tyler Durden and the narrator go to a restaurant and Brad urinates in the soup for a banquet. And so it was filmed in a real ballroom, but with real guests as well. So some of them became pretty angry after knowing what happened on set. I mean, they didn't even think about taking fake guests. No, they really took real people. Now, number 4, in the scene where Edward Norton and Brad Pitt are fighting each other, David Fincher said to Edward Norton to really hit Brad Pitt in the ear. He was just supposed to fake the punch, but he really gave him a big punch in the ear. That's why he screams "my ear, not my ear." It was sincere. But David Fincher loved the reaction of Brad so much that he actually kept the take for the final cut. Brad Pitt, for his iconic role of Tyler Durden, actually inspired himself by a few people he actually knew. There was one inspiration that was a drug dealer that he met in Santa Monica in California. He also adopted a unique vocal inflection and some mannerism for the character that became iconic with his role. Now, number 6, this is a pretty common anecdote that people know a lot, but the stuntman, Brad Pitt's stuntman in Fight Club, was none other than David Leitch, who became a director later on. He made the Deadpool movies, and he also made Bullet Train in 2022 with Brad Pitt. That was 23 years after. They had a few collaborations. He was his stuntman in Troy. They have a close relationship, making movies together. Number 7, the film set it was pretty harsh actually. There were a lot of problems, but Edward Norton suffered from a few things, including a broken finger and pneumonia. Number 8, the film's marketing actually I find really great. It was intentionally provocative and submersive, with slogans like mischief, mayhem, soap. But all this created controversy and of course helped to become a hit at the time. Now, number 9, I found the last anecdote about Brad Pitt's leather jacket, which is pretty iconic, but it was actually brown at the beginning, according to Michael Kaplan, who was the costume designer at the time. So in just one night, they created a red jacket by dyeing the brown one. And just with that, that vision of David Fincher and of course Michael Kaplan, they created one of the most iconic leather jackets of all time. Well, what a movie! It was really great finding all these anecdotes. I really love this movie. It's such a great and bizarre movie at the same time. There were a lot of other anecdotes about this movie, but I took the ones I didn't know and the ones I found most interesting to share to you. Thanks a lot for watching. I'm sorry for breaking the first and second rule of Fight Club. See you very, very soon. Bye bye.
Stop.